Okay, welcome back to a brand new episode of Who's Good Again, the weekly podcast or sometimes bi-weekly podcast. I'm your host, Alvin, joined by Akshay this time around. And I know I am, for those of you who have been diligently following our podcast, maybe an army of one, I know that we didn't end up doing a preview for last week's gaming fixtures.
Yeah,
I have just been swamped at work.
I
All of
think
us have day
everybody has.
jobs.
Yeah,
Yeah, all of us have like day jobs because let's be honest, if we relied on the podcast for income, it would not be the best. Uh, but yeah, so it's just been a week where life has taken precedence. And for those of you who are on video, you get to see my hair is doing things today. I don't know what's happening. So
looks
it's
good.
just really, it looks like I'm having a bad hair day. I don't know what's happening. So just avoid, like, please, I really apologize for my mane, for those of you watching on video. But very quickly, just want to do some housekeeping before we begin. We do this episode either live on Mondays and Wednesdays. Mondays we ideally do reviews, and Wednesdays we end up doing previews. And then the episode of that live stream ends up going on and living as a podcast somewhere on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on Google Podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcast. Basically, within the next day, it's usually up and about and ready to go. When we do have the time, we sit and do live FPL shows, but we haven't really. Some of us work Saturdays, so it's very difficult to put those together.
That's
But
beautiful too.
we're trying to get more consistent with that. But that's all out of the. That's all. I have to say on the matter, so the housekeeping aspect of it is done. What I would like for us to begin, I think let's try and keep this episode as brisk and as quick as possible. But before I do that, Akshay, how are you, my friend? I know we've seen each other a lot these past couple of days.
Yeah,
But
met each other quite a bit.
yeah, how have
Nothing's
you
changed
been
since then.
Nothing has changed. Okay,
since then.
that's always a good sign.
But then been a bit held up with work and busy at work, apart from social life with meeting you.
Oh, of course, yeah. I am your social life at this point. Well, good to know.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, good to know. But actually, I think.
But also for those who are listening to us, we went for a ISL game on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, so for those of you, we get a lot of. The international fans get a lot of stick for not supporting their local team. My local team, that is Bangalore FC, our local team, yes, recently came back into playing games in front of home crowds after a gap of 3 years. I think for the last 3 years, the ISL was in Goa, and I have not been in the country, nor have any of us managed to trek up to Goa for games. We weren't allowed to anyway because I
think they were playing behind the closed doors.
Exactly, right.
In a bubble.
So this was the first time we ended up going and catching an ISL game live, at least for me, in 4 years. It's been 4 years since I last went to a home game. Pretty good turnout as per usual. 19,000 fans in a 24,000 stadium capacity.
That was almost a house full.
It was because there are certain sections that they've cordoned off that usually don't let fans in. For those of you who don't know where Bangalore plays, they play in a stadium called the Kantirva Stadium. And if I were to compare it to a stadium on the global stage, I would you probably compare it to something along the lines of Stadio Olimpico, maybe a little smaller because I know the Olimpico is slightly bigger, but it has that running track around the pitch because that stadium was multi-purpose since its inception. So it was good to go watch Bangalore under a new coach, Simon Grayson, who we know from his time at Sunderland and Leeds. Very different approach to what we've been used to since the last couple of years of following Bangalore FC. Because under Albert and Carlos, who both came from the Barcelona system, Bangalore were a highly passing-based, possession-based football side. So it was kind of insane when we'd go to the stadium and watch these triangles on the pitch, and this is the kind of stuff that was very alien to us because when the club was first formed, it was under the tutelage of Ashley Westwood, who was one of our first ever coaches, and he was a lot more direct. He had a big man up front in Robin Singh, who would then who would then hold the ball as a target man, have Sean Rooney and Sunil Chhetri on either side of him, and it was a lot more straightforward. Grayson, I don't think is that kind of football manager either. I think he varies between a 4-2-3-1 and a 3-5-2, both of which he kind of implemented in the game.
Yeah, and I think we're
Initially,
yet to see what type of manager he turns out to be for
yeah, I
us.
think
Yeah.
the,
It was very
we did
difficult to gauge what he was playing that day.
for sure. I think it was he ended up started off with a 3-5-2, and it didn't end up working well. Bangalore took on Northeast United, another team in the ISL, and very quickly it became very apparent that the team wasn't fully up to speed in terms of their tactical prowess,
Yeah.
because they would essentially try and squeeze the ball high up the pitch, but would ultimately end up losing possession given the fact that they had no outlet, and it was almost always by the byline. So it was good when Alan Costa rose highest in a corner within in the last 10 minutes, nodded Bangalore home, and Northeast almost snatched a point. I thought they'd snatched a point right at the death,
All of
but
us
I
did.
think, yeah, all of us did. But
Yeah.
then the shrewd linesman spotted an infringement in the box where I believe it's Gats. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce his full name. Who takes the shot, but it nicks off another northeastern player, a player who is
Yeah.
in an offside position as it makes its way into the back of the net, and because of that, the the goal is disallowed. Huge drama, crazy situation.
The manager
Always,
and the referee got sent off.
yeah. It was not a.
For,
It was chaos. Yeah.
yeah.
I was very frustrated with how that game played out because I felt like Bangalore FC were not particularly particularly tight, or rather
But in
very fluid.
the second half,
Def-
things changed when they made the substitutions of
yeah,
Vedanta Singh and Chabi, if I'm not wrong.
yeah,
Yeah.
so, yeah. I think it's Javier Hernandez. Yeah,
Chavi,
yes,
however you pronounce it.
yeah. So he was the game changer.
Yeah,
Absolutely
of
took
course.
started riding challenges and finding spaces in the midfield, which otherwise wasn't.
Yep.
Otherwise, the Bangalore wasn't finding. But okay, enough about ISL. We'll be at the next home game as well. If you do listen or watch this podcast from the
Yeah, it
Bangalore area,
seems like Cosmo in chat was also at the game the other
yeah,
day.
yeah. He
Yeah,
says he was in Bangalore, so it was always good to like if you're in the stadium, and if we're going, just come say hi. I mean, you know what we look like. Uh, so yeah, Cosmo also
yeah.
back in the chat. He says the attack was not fully cohesive for Bangalore. Also Roshan, oof,
Yeah, Roshan was on fire.
yeah, was definitely on
Yeah.
fire. But let's keep the ISL aside and let's move back into the more international realm of football news. Where do we begin? I think there's only one place to begin.
Yeah, there's only one place to begin. Exactly.
Yeah, midweek. Yeah, let's talk about the Kylian Mbappe situation at PSG at the moment. So I'm going to give you clip notes, and then I'm going to ask Akshay about his point of view. So
I only
Kylian
have one point.
Mbappe has
Which,
requested
yeah,
a move away from Paris Saint-Germain as things have massively fallen apart for him in these last 5 months since he signed a new
Yep.
contract with PSG. I believe there were certain promises that were made to him that didn't end up materializing. I don't think he's being played in his favorable position. There is a division between him and the Neymar Messi camp. It's not looking good for the young 22-year-old.
22. Yeah,
So
22.
2024, rather, he's 24. I'm sorry.
Really? Oh,
Yeah, he's 24.
he looks very young.
So, but it's not. He has requested a move away in the winter transfer window. He does not want to be anywhere near PSG, which has opened up this this insane news cycle about where he's going to end up going over the next couple of months, as if
Yeah.
the World Cup wasn't enough. it wasn't enough to like create some buzz in the footballing world over the next couple of months. Now the future of Kylian Mbappe leaving in January, potentially leaving in January, is sure to get a lot of news articles, news websites, a lot of clicks. But that's all aside. Akshay, what do you think in terms of Mbappe choosing to leave PSG at this point? Um, why? Like, what do you like? What do you think is about the
I,
situation?
I I feel like he's gonna do this full saga of going to Madrid, talking to them, coming back, going there, coming back, and then just finally coming back and sitting in PSG. I feel like it's just a whole thing just to get the news all pepped up, and like nothing really will come out of this. I feel.
So Cosmo in the chat brings out a very important point. He says Mbappe is a great player, but he's carrying negative vibes wherever he goes. His feud with Giroud in France and this with PSG. Yeah, I think generally that the French national team is also not looking very good moving into into the World Cup. For those of you who are old enough to remember, when they won it in 2000, I believe no, France won in 2018, so they haven't won it since. But when they made
Yeah,
the final in 2006, and they ended up in South Africa under Raymond Dominic, the team hated each other and they hated the manager, and they ended up going out in the group stages. I believe in 2000, I think was it 2002? No, 2002 they ended up going out to Brazil, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, was
I
that no,
don't
no?
I
They
don't
ended up
recall.
2002. They ended up going out in the group stages because 98 they were winners.
Hmm.
In the group stages, they ended up losing. And so it's the curse of this. There is that curse of the World Cup winner.
Yeah, yeah.
The last three World Cup winners have all gone out in the group stages.
Group stages the
So
next World Cup. Yeah,
exactly. So it'll be interesting to see the French national team. But there is there are two words that best describe Kylian Mbappe at this point for me. Those are spoilt and brat, because one, he if he wanted to leave, he should have left in the summer. Like he should have run down his contract and left in the summer. If he felt so vilified and so unheard in a PSG team, which, if we're being completely honest, he's front and center of. There is like he's a very talented kid, like a super talented kid,
yeah, really is. Yeah,
but there have been better talents out there in the world of football who have a better status because they are they conduct themselves in a particular fashion, like
true, true.
Neymar, Messi. Even Cristiano Ronaldo is the consummate professional. He's never want to go on strikes or never want to like
Yeah,
I mean, he does sulk on the pitch on the odd occasion whenever. That's more of a late era Ronaldo. 24-year-old Ronaldo was also a different kind of a sulker, but he
but
played where the
yeah,
team, yeah, wanted him to play, right? And then ultimately he sought his made himself the player he was. In a team with Neymar and Messi, you are not going to be in your favorite position all the time. And this is something he should have considered when he was signing his contract in 2020, in June, or rather in May. So it's a bit it's a bit nasty and almost unnecessary for this to have come out now. I believe PSG would are open to selling him, but selling him to anybody but Real Madrid.
Madrid. Yeah.
So it will be an interesting saga to keep an eye on. Okay,
I just
hypothetically, say he
just
leaves.
want to yeah just wanted to add about him playing in his favorable position. I think under Pochettino he was playing under his favored position, but I think once Poch left, things changed for him as well.
I think with Gaultier coming in, it's not Gaultier is obviously
Yeah,
looking at it more as a team and not just more as an
exactly,
Mbappe
exactly.
servicing vehicle, right? So you don't quite know why this has come out now and why he's
Yeah,
behaving the way he is.
and I
You're
think
literally
between
like,
Eminem, like between the Eminem, they have to rotate the three of them in all three positions. Is what I have a feeling.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
it's not doing wonders for the team as well. I believe the team drew to Benfica yesterday night, 1-1, but
yep,
not the most shocking result. I believe Maccabi Haifa beat Juventus
yeah, 2-0,
2-0, right?
2-1, 2-0,
And
2-1. Yeah,
and that puts Juventus in a really precarious position because they're not
yep,
doing well either. Allegri is under fierce scrutiny, not exactly having the best time in a league where Atlanta and Napoli are absolutely ripping things to shreds. Especially Napoli. Napoli are playing some of the best
Napoli are
football
playing
in
well. Yeah,
Europe. Yeah,
yep,
some of the best football in Europe at this point. But moving on from an idiotic 24-year-old to to news, or rather to footballing developments in the English aspect, English part of the European continent. Let's quickly take a look at some of the fixtures that took place over the last game week. Now, I believe there's only one place for us to start, and I think it's usually we used to play this clip in jest, but now I believe we'll play it for old time's sake. But
yeah. Go ahead,
this is a
go
question, a
ahead.
segment that we had on all our podcasts back since we began.
And I think it.
Yeah, sorry, Akshay, I think I cut him
Yeah,
off there.
yeah, no. As I
Yeah.
was saying, I think this segment sort of backfired on us, and we've like broken the curse of, so to say, of Arsenal not doing so well. And
I don't know. I think Arsenal are doing extremely well. I
but
believe.
they're doing really well
Yeah,
this season.
they're playing. It's not even like a Spurs situation where they're just huffing and puffing and getting themselves through games. They're playing fast, free flowing, attacking football. They're pressurizing teams into making mistakes. They're forcing the narrative, and nothing was different when they came up against a Liverpool side, albeit slightly devoid in confidence, on Sunday evening. And within the first minute, Gabriel Martinelli runs blindside
That was a
of Trent Alexander-Arnold. Trent once again ball watching, and not even ball watching. He's just completely gets sucked in. Attempts to hold the line when very clearly this has been a time. What's the word? What's the word I'm looking for? For a tried and tested tactic that's been used against him on occasion, where
yeah,
where the winger makes a run on his blind side, causing a lot of
disruption.
issues for the Liverpool backline. And
Yeah,
us and Liverpool are down 1-0 in the first minute. They do rally, they do come back, and with the help of Darwin Núñez, they equalize. Núñez kind of goes a bit early with his crying celebration, because just before halftime, I think at a time at the end of the
at the
first
time.
half,
Yeah,
yeah, Bukayo Saka tucks in at the back post and makes it 2-1. In the second half, Liverpool, through a very carefully planned attack, make it 2-2 via Roberto Firmino before they concede, in my opinion, a very soft penalty, but a penalty nonetheless. I feel if it had happened to our team, if it happened to any of our teams, we'd have been crying for a pen. And then Saka converts it to make it 3-2, and from there on, Arsenal just control the game and see it out, going home with all the 3 points. Now, Cosmo in the chat once again has said Arsenal will finish second, and that the problem with Arsenal's team is that they have no bench strength to cope with Europa and the tight fixtures post World Cup, which I believe to be true, right? Because
yeah,
but the thing is, what's happening for Arsenal is that I don't think this was ever a scenario where they considered themselves to be ready for a full-blown title charge. I believe they've found themselves in a situation now where they are in a title race, because just look at the other teams. Spurs blow hot and cold. Look at the likes of Man United, still trying to figure it out. Liverpool are probably on their worst run in the last 10 years. You look at the likes of of Chelsea, who
Chelsea.
are still trying to figure out a new life under Graham Potter, a new regime under a new ownership. So it seems
Yeah.
like Arsenal are the best of a bad bunch, or rather, very good in with regards
In,
to with regards to the rest of the league. Now, Thakur in the chat has said Mbappe is a big fish in a small pond. We just spoke about the Mbappe situation. If you want, you could just like rewind a little bit and you see us addressing it. Um, for those of you who are joining in live, but with regards to Arsenal, it's just that there's so much going for them at the moment, and yes, I believe the fixture congestion will play a major part, coupled with the fact that their bench strength is not the best. But I believe by the time things start falling apart for them, they will have had enough of a cushion to cement their place in the top four, because that's the goal of this for this season for Arsenal. I believe Arteta, Edu, and Vinay Venkatesan would have all got together and said, "Hey,
yeah.
let's try and get finish a Champions League position this season, and then let's look on to build on that, consistently start finishing in the Champions League, and then keep adding tools to your squad, and then go for the title in a few years." So yeah, Thakur
Yeah.
in the chat says Arsenal is not going to win the Premier League anytime soon. I don't think you're going to see outside of Liverpool. I don't think you're going to see any other team winning the title over the next couple of years, as Man City probably will, because of Pep Guardiola's presence in this league. He has single-handedly made the league bow to his will. Uh, they scored 4 this weekend, and Haaland only got 1, which to the league at this point is some sort of achievement, limiting Erling Haaland to just 1 goal, as opposed to the hat tricks that he's been getting week on week. 15 goals for the season in the Premier League. Can you imagine anything more insane?
He's
It's like almost boggles the
he's
mind.
outscored 90% of the teams on in the league
For sure. Like I
himself.
think,
Yeah.
yeah. And with Liverpool coming up this weekend, oof, you don't like a very underperforming, depleted Liverpool coming up this weekend. It's going to be a bit of a slog for them. Yeah, City
Yeah.
haven't even played Calvin. Cosmo points out that City haven't even played Calvin Phillips yet. So he's just sitting
Is he
there.
injured?
I believe he's injured. I don't think he's
Yeah.
not, or he's not match fit. One of those two. But coming back to Arsenal, realistically, Akshay, where do you see them finishing within the next, within the season? Like, where do you see them finishing at the end of it?
I think second, as Cosmos mentioned. They have it in them, but I think City will just overtake them come December, Jan. And I think we have mentioned this in our previous pods as well, that Haaland is not playing the World Cup, so he's definitely going to be extra fit than 90% of the other teams, which will help them just sail through December, Jan, Feb, and March to get the title.
Yeah, that I would have really liked to see the Arsenal Man City game that has been pushed from the next game week, because Arsenal
Yeah.
have to make up for their missed game against PSV Eindhoven. Uh, Thakur in the chat mentions Haaland should be restricted to only 45 minutes in a game, makes him something like a boost in video games. You never know, maybe. But I believe the league will work him out at some point. I feel that's usually what happens. This is the most competitive league in the world. There is an answer to every problem. It just takes its time.
Yeah, I think
So
it'll take a while for people to figure out what he's up to and how to stop him.
yeah, and I think him up against Virgil van Dijk, who's probably been the only one who has nullified him consistently over the last couple of game weeks. Especially, I think he played him in the Charity Shield, so he this could probably be one of those times where he meets his match. But let's see what happens on the weekend. But I have Arsenal finishing at this point. I still have them finishing third. I believe they will fall off, and I believe
Yeah.
Spurs will still stay consistent and end up like pinching that second place with City winning the league. Oh, I know we have Premier League predictions to
Yeah,
revise because
yeah, we have to
we,
revise them
we got
post
we got it
mid season. We
horribly.
probably should. Yeah,
Yeah, just after the World Cup, the
yeah,
episode after the World Cup ends is probably where we'll do like a revision of our Premier League predictions.
yeah,
But
definitely.
let's quickly run through the other games that took place on game week 10 and just comment on fixtures of importance. Bournemouth Leicester. I This is a very precarious position for Brendan Rodgers and for Leicester in general. The only reason why Brendan Rodgers has not been sacked is because Leicester can't afford to sack him, which is why he's still there.
Yep.
There's no money currently at the club due to financial restrictions imposed by FFP. So this is the season where Leicester are biting down and hoping to ride things out. The owners have been very transparent about the situation, and if it means Leicester get relegated, so be it. They will come back. They will bounce back within the season after. This is something that's all been accounted for. So Leicester, I always appreciate a situation where the owners are extremely upfront about the conundrum they find themselves in. So this is something pleasant for the likes of many of us to be like, okay, we understand where you're coming from. So Bournemouth turned that game around, scoring 2 goals to 1 with Ryan Christie and Philip Billing on the score sheet. Chelsea versus Wolves.
Speaking, just want to add, speaking of Bournemouth, who lost 9-0 to Liverpool, are in fact above them at this juncture of the Premier League.
Sorry, what?
Speaking of Bournemouth, who lost 9-0 to Liverpool, are in
Oh yeah,
fact
right. They're
above
above
Liverpool
them.
at
Yeah,
this
yeah,
point.
yeah. Of
Uh,
course.
as things stand, they are
Yeah,
2 points ahead of Liverpool, which is a crazy stat.
we'll get to Liverpool because I feel like we've
Yeah,
only spoken about Arsenal but haven't really touched on Liverpool.
yeah, we'll
Um,
touch upon that.
So yeah. So moving on to Chelsea versus Wolves, Chelsea end up running out 3-0 winners. It almost felt like a testimonial for Diego Costa because his name was being strung all around the ground. He was warming up amongst the home fans. They were giving him ovations. Um, Cesar Azpilicueta put up a very nice story
Yeah,
about meeting his old friend. And Chelsea versus Wolves was almost like a routine affair, a lot of rotation. And apparently, this is a Potter thing where he tends to rotate his squads quite often in a bit to keep them fresh. But
yeah,
it paid
which is
off.
a good point. Yeah,
Yeah, because you had Havertz, Pulisic, and Broha all get on the score sheet. Mason Mount had a great game with 2 assists, and Kovacic with one. A comfortable afternoon for Chelsea at the Bridge. Man City and Southampton 4-0 winners. City are scoring goals for fun and keeping clean sheets. Haaland hit the post before he ultimately bagged. Jude Cancelo putting on a man of the match performance. Mahrez
oh
getting
yeah,
on the score sheet.
definitely,
Phil
definitely.
Foden getting on the score sheet, who's also having a really great season. City just look unstoppable at the moment. Like I don't know of a team that will be able to contain them and send them on their way. In
I
terms
think
of
Newcastle can,
yeah,
and we
maybe
actually
yeah,
saw.
Newcastle. Yeah,
Yeah,
Newcastle gave them quite a fright until it all fell apart. And they had a really impressive win against Brentford, even though 2 of those goals were almost gifts. Raya played out from the back, completely fluffed his lines and allowed Newcastle to ghost in and score. Then there was an own goal. The fifth goal, I believe, is an own goal.
correct,
Um,
correct.
yeah, but I somehow attributed to Bruno Guimaraes nonetheless. They ended up running out comfortable winners at by pulping Brentford 5-1.
But
Spurs have had a
but
difficult week.
they've been scoring quite a high scoring games in the last 2 3 game weeks.
Yeah,
Just
they've
racking up goals after goals after goals.
they have only one loss this entire season, so which makes them an outside shot for the top four race, highly probable because you don't know
Yeah,
what business they're going to do in January. They have the money and they're well under the financial regulations to do business in January.
yep.
So you don't know when Newcastle
Hmm.
end up finishing because they look like a strong, cohesive attacking unit under Eddie Howe. Now, quickly to the comments once more. Um, Cosmo mentions a point Tushar made in the previous episode about how Conte will
Yeah,
outrun his teams. That will hurt them. It will, but I believe they have more squad depth to compensate for it. So that's why I believe they will end up finishing higher than Arsenal soon, because Arsenal, in terms of in midfield positions, they have cover, but anywhere else across the pitch, they're
Yeah,
extremely threadbare. So this is which is why I believe Arsenal will finish where they will. He also mentioned that Chelsea look in good flow after a long time. Happy as Chelsea, as a Chelsea fan, after a long time, because Chelsea look good. I mean, Graham Potter's just done the double over. It's just done the double over AC Milan, right? 3-0
yeah.
and 2-0 winners. A very weird penalty decision that, I mean, fine, the penalty was given, but to have Fikayo Tomori sent off for
That
essentially
was
not even,
a double whammy, uncalled for. But
it
the
was,
yeah,
I don't know, refereeing standards are dropping in day by day, and I just thought this was an English thing, but turns out the European continent is not.
everybody's
Um,
everybody's doing that.
yeah, it's making horrible decisions. So Chelsea look good. Chelsea look really good. And Cosmo also mentions that Newcastle are looking closely at the
Of
Mbappe
course.
situation. If he wants to be the face of a project, if he
Then
wants the
yes,
money
yeah.
that he wants, like, that's where it's at. And I believe the Qatari ownership and the Saudi ownership don't see eye to eye either.
Mm,
So it's just
the
it's a transfer for the ages. I'd be very interested to see
yeah,
how that pans out. But back to the fixtures. Palace took on Leeds. I believe they ran out 2-1 winners there. West Ham and Fulham. Now, there was a very contentious decision that happened in this game with Michael Antonio's goal, where the ball appears to strike his hand, and as he's on his way to finish it off, and which
mm,
he does. I think I believe it's the Skamaka pass that bounces off of him, and he scores. Now, apparently, by the letter of the law, that's a handball, so the goal should be chalked off. But somehow that went through, and then they would, and just so happened for the referees that in the other two fixtures, where Arsenal and Liverpool and Everton and Man United, they were
oh yeah,
two very similar instances where a penalty or like the goal should have been
yep.
given, or the goal should have stood, and both times it was looked past.
The yeah,
There was an incident in the Arsenal game where the ball hits Gabriel's hand, and his hand's in an unnatural position, no matter the proximity. It's he's got his hand up, and that's a penalty any day of the week in my book. And Arsenal did get away with that at 1-0. We've already spoken about Arsenal. Liverpool look like they're in free fall. They have injuries everywhere, and
injury.
Jurgen
Yeah, a
Klopp,
lot of injuries
yeah,
now. Yeah,
and there are murmurs that Jurgen Klopp cannot revitalize this team, and that his head may soon be on the chopping block. Which, as a neutral, I find this completely absurd. I don't
mm,
understand why Jurgen Klopp is having to find himself in a situation like this. I don't understand why he's in a scenario where people are calling for his head. I believe Jurgen Klopp deserves every bit of time that a manager would require to set things right.
definitely. It's
There has
a
been
bit too early for doing such a thing.
no, but there's definitely disgruntlement amongst fans. Fans are upset because I don't blame them, because they were contesting for 4 trophies over the last season,
Yep.
and to go from that point where, like, okay, we didn't make it, but we will make it, to the scenario they currently find themselves in, it looks like a bridge too far. I believe now, the more and more I look at it, the more I believe that he squeezed every last ounce out of that Liverpool team over the last season,
Of course.
and
Yeah.
yeah, they're just running
Everybody's
on
just
empty.
looking like they're recovering from the previous season.
Exactly.
And
So it's
I think Mane's departure is also really hurting them
so
to an extent.
with yeah, with the Mane situation, we expected things to be difficult. We expected a
Exactly. Yeah.
transition, but it hasn't helped that Darwin Nunez has not had a fast start, and it hasn't helped that Mohamed
Yeah.
Salah's form has fallen off a cliff.
I
And
think he
also,
used
it yeah. It
I think he
hasn't
just needs a
helped.
break right now. Like pre-World
I
Cup
think
break is what he
he
needs.
will, but I don't know if we're
Yeah,
going to see the player that was pre the African Cup of Nations. Because
yeah.
it's not a this season problem. It's him coming after
After
him
that,
coming back from the African Cup
after
of
AFCON,
Nations.
yeah.
Yeah, it's just not working out for him. I saw a podcast where somebody mentioned that all those Christmas pictures are coming back to bite him in the ass. So it's not looking good for Mohamed Salah, and with
No,
each
not at all.
game, it
Yeah,
just makes Liverpool and Liverpool fans look like idiots for having given him that bumper contract. I said this last season, and I said this to a bunch of
yeah.
Liverpool
You
fans.
did. Yeah,
Yeah, and I've said this to a lot of people about the Salah contract, and it is my general belief that at the age of 30, a player will start to decline, unless, of course, they are Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi, and there are only two of them in the world. So there were Liverpool fans comparing Salah to Ronaldo over the last couple of years, and guys,
you
like,
can't. You can't.
yeah, you
Yeah.
just can't.
I mean,
I
with
mean, the
current
answer is right there.
in his then
I'm
form, definitely, but that form is not continuous. It's like
No,
one
even then, like,
season, two seasons,
Salah
three
took
seasons,
off
and then
at what,
that's it.
26, at the age of 25, 26, and Ronaldo has been killing it from the age of 22, 23. 24 is
Yeah,
when he 24 is when he left United, and by then he was already a Ballon d'Or winner. So,
yeah,
and for him to have consistently been up there in terms of one of the greatest, if not the greatest player of all time, is an achievement. The man hit 700 goals, but we'll get to that
yeah.
in a
Exactly.
bit.
We need to. Yeah.
So comparing the likes of Salah, or just generally anybody who's gone through a 3-year period, to the likes of Ronaldo is a bit of an insult to Ronaldo, if I'm being perfectly honest.
Yeah.
And Virgil
I
van
agree.
Dijk has been one of the best defenders in the Premier League over the last few years. Has been absolutely impervious at the back. Is he Rio Ferdinand? Absolutely not. He There was a great meme about Van Dijk this season, and they put up a picture of Rio Ferdinand at QPR, where Rio Ferdinand was just basically a ghost of himself. He played a season too many,
Yeah.
and that's what Van Dijk is. So let's stop the comparisons about having this team in the greatest Premier League squad of all time, when it comes down to the fact that all that they've won is one Premier League trophy, one Champions League trophy, and a bunch of domestic and super club
Doesn't count. Yeah.
cups. I mean, they do fine. Trophies do count, but
Yeah, but
this is
not
not
when
the
you're
greatest
comparing
team.
them
Like,
to the greats of
yeah,
Ferdinand and Ronaldo and Messi. And
yeah, exactly. So like, just
yeah,
that's something that they shouldn't, that shouldn't be happening. Now, with moving on from Liverpool, I think we've spent enough time giving them a neutral's perspective on where their situation is. But before we do, where do you end up? Uh, where do you end up seeing them
where do you see
finishing the Premier League?
them?
Yeah,
How
where
do
do you
you
see them
see them
ending up
ending
in the
up?
Premier League? Oh my
Yeah,
God!
not where
Like,
do you end up seeing them?
yeah. Oh
Where do
my!
you?
I had a bit of a mare there, but go on.
I
Sorry.
think I think they might be able to come back after the World Cup because hopefully Salah will come back a bit stronger than what he is right now after having a break during the World Cup. But I think they might just be able to pull back and finish Europa League at this point, fifth or sixth.
Hmm. I've Yeah, I see them. If I see them finishing sixth or seventh under current form. I would go so far as to say eighth as well, depending on how.
Yeah, current form definitely eighth, probably eighth or
Yeah,
seventh, as you said. But
but I feel
hopefully,
I think by the time they get their groove back, the other teams would have settled in and would have had that blanket of points. And currently, between them and Arsenal, there's a 14-point gap. Now they've pulled those gaps back in the past, but I don't not see them doing that this season. Just don't have the personnel for it. Quickly
but
moving to the
between them and
Liverpool
top
aspect
four,
of the chat.
just between them and top four, that's a 4 point difference. So they definitely have scope to come back.
Oh yeah, for sure. I don't
Yeah,
think the top four will be formed until after January. So there's a lot
yeah, Yeah,
There's a lot.
there's a lot of
Yeah.
back and forth between teams.
Cosmo in the chat says Liverpool trusted too much on the older players. Trent is jogging back, and Van Dijk hasn't been the same. That's hurting them. Points we've alluded
Yeah,
to. And comparing Van Dijk to Vidic, Terry, and Rio is a crime. Yeah, it's just
yeah,
don't. Please don't. But moving on to the next fixture, Everton took on Man United. And within the first 10 minutes, Everton were a goal up, a wonder strike from Alex Iwobi. And I was like, okay, here we go again, because it was
yeah.
pinched off Casemiro, who I personally feel hasn't been pulling up any trees. He's looked extremely ordinary since his transfer. And I just thought that
He's not getting enough game time, I feel, in the Premier League until last game where he played the full 90. He was
he,
he was always coming on as a sub for the last 15, 20 minutes every game. So that I think now I think he's going to become a regular starter in the team, which will
he should.
slowly build up his game back to his days in at Madrid.
I really hope he does, because
But
I'm
and
like
we
I'm
actually did see that uh, during the game it progressed. The first half he was quite shit, but second half he did pull up his socks a bit and it turned his game around a bit.
I think Casemiro, like not even looking at Casemiro, that was probably United's best game this season. They completely nullified Everton. Everton had no answer. That game should have technically been finished off earlier. That Rashford goal, which
Yeah,
Crossmore's alluded to in the chat,
yeah.
was
As a neutral point, I
absolutely
feel like
bomb.
that coach should have stayed and should have been given, but I guess VAR is VAR at this point.
Yeah, and another big talking point from the game was Siron's 700th goal. Now
Yeah,
we both
or
watched
700.
we both watched the game against Ammonia, where it was like watching a dog you love, or rather a pet you love, grow very old. I
Yeah,
can't believe I did just compare Ronaldo to a pet of mine, but just watching somebody you love grow very old, and like Father Time is undefeated. It was so frustrating because the ball just
yeah, it
wasn't
was
going into
really
the back of the
unfortunate
net.
for him. Yeah,
It
just
just it
wasn't
just
his
so
day at the office.
yeah,
Yeah,
it just so happened that in this game he was up against Connor Cody, who is also not very quick. And when Casemiro releases a ball quickly in from midfield, he
it
lashes
was,
onto it.
yeah,
Jordan Pickford's T-Rex arms can't save anything at his near post. And back of the net, Ronaldo
yeah,
ends up with the match winner. He looked relieved. He started the game as a sub, but Anthony Martial went off in 25 minutes with a hip problem. I don't believe he
yeah.
plays the game against
He's not playing. Yeah,
Ammonia tomorrow night. We're recording this on Wednesday, which is the night of the Champions League fixtures where Spurs and Liverpool end up playing. But just so those results won't be on this episode, and neither will the Europa League fixtures be. But he might be on the bench come the weekend where United play Newcastle, which is a game I'm really looking forward to, and which
that'll
we'll
be a
talk
good,
about
fun game to watch. Yeah.
in the preview in just a few minutes. Any other fixtures? Yeah, we had Forest versus Villa, where Gerrard has lost the fans. He seems to have lost the dressing room, and he's very, very quickly moving himself towards the sack. Could happen in the next couple of game weeks.
Yeah, he's
Actually,
currently sort of fighting for relegation at this point.
yeah, they're not looking the best. They're not looking free flowing, and I just believe his management style has not worked at Villa. So it'll be interesting to see.
And just we have before we move on to our preview, Cosmo in the chat says he blames players around Casemiro equally for that goal. No one were in open or free positions to for him to pass to.
Yeah, I just feel like, but I think he went down expecting a foul there, because you'd have gotten a foul in La Liga. That's not a foul in
Yeah.
the Premier League.
Yeah,
That's not a foul. That's just that's a body
just
check.
yeah,
And Yeah, I was like, okay, when soon as that he lost the ball, there were
There
no
was,
doubts about this.
yeah,
It wasn't like the Arsenal situation where there's a blatant push in the back. This was a foul. This wasn't a foul. This was
this wasn't
a
foul. It was
proper
a
check.
normal tackle. Yeah,
Yeah.
proper tackle.
So not the best feeling for Casemiro, but ultimately ended up coming back as the man of the match in that game. So
Yeah,
good to see.
yep, yeah.
So Akshay, let's quickly
And
pull up the
yeah,
preview
let's
fixtures.
pull up the preview. Let me get to that.
So, oh wait, I need to like put up a thing for the ticker, but okay, we'll do that later. It's going to be an interesting set of fixtures coming up within the next game week. The 12:30 kickoff, around 12:30. It kicks off on a Friday. There's a
Yeah,
Friday
kicks
night
off on
game this
Friday.
time
Yeah, for all of
between
your
Brent.
listeners,
Yes,
the
for
deadline's
between
on
Brent.
Friday night at 11 p.m. 11 p.m. IST.
Yeah. So Brentford and Brighton are the first fixture to kick us off for the game week 11 fixtures. Where do you have them finishing?
Which Brighton and which Brentford is gonna show up in this game?
I
That's
think Brighton
the.
will be better. I do believe Brighton to be better, and I think they end up winning 2-1 at the Brentford Stadium.
I think 1-0 to Brighton.
Oh, nice.
I think they'll just have it in them. They'll have enough in them to take them through.
Leicester Palace, where do you see them? Where do you see this game finishing? I believe Palace will run out
Palace,
comfortably
Palace are
winners.
gonna win this 2-0 for
Yeah,
sure.
2-0 for you. I'm going with a 3-0 here. Fulham, Bournemouth. Bournemouth have looked a lot
Yeah,
more resilient
it's a fun game to
over the last.
watch.
Yeah, I think Fulham have been going hammer and tongs. They end up leaking a bit at the back, but they're also a very fun team to watch. I
I
think
think
this
I
game
think Mitrovic
ends.
is all out no from this game. So
What happened to him?
he's injured, no?
Oh, I didn't know he was injured. Oh,
Yeah, I thought he was injured.
so I believe a 2-2 in that game is the most likely result. Now between Wolves
It's a
and Forest,
1-1.
you're going for a 1-1. I'm sorry, I keep looking at the fixtures. Yeah, okay. So Wolves and
Wolves
Forest.
and
Ooh,
I don't know. Who's, I think
Forest
Forest
could really
are
use
looking
a
a bit.
win, or they could really stop losing. So I think this is going to be a draw, a 0-0 draw.
And then a draw.
Yeah.
Wolves are not looking great either.
No, they sacked their manager. They haven't
Yeah,
appointed a new manager.
they haven't appointed anybody new. I think Forest might just win this game 1-0.
Yeah.
Given their. You said 0-0, right?
Yeah,
Or
I'm
1-1.
going for 0-0.
I think.
Spurs
Oh, my bad.
Everton.
My bad.
Spurs Everton. I have Spurs winning this 3-0 winners comfortably. Yeah.
I think 2-1. They won't
2-1.
comfortably win it. I think they'll just about win it and then sit back and defend. Because we saw that
Villa.
against Brighton as well. They just
Yeah.
scored that one goal and that's it. Game over. Anyways.
Villa Chelsea. I expect Chelsea to come out 2-1 winners here. I believe Villa will give them a game. They usually do for the big teams. So 2-1 to Chelsea.
I think 2-0 Chelsea. I think Villa don't have enough in them to score a goal either.
Leeds Arsenal will be a fun game. I think Leeds will ultimately end up losing this game, and I believe Arsenal will end up winning the game 3-1. I think 3-1 makes for a good result for Arsenal in this game.
I think Leeds don't have enough in them. That's the issue. I think
But I
3-0.
think at home it's a home fixture, so I kind of see them getting something out of this game.
But I think somebody is out, right? From that red card from the previous game.
Not quite sure. But I know someone who's out in the United team, but I'm not quite sure
McTominay.
about the yeah. This for me is one of the games of the weekend because it'll be really fun to watch. United at home. I don't think United have played a home game since Arsenal. It's been close to a month.
Yeah,
So
almost
it'll be
one. Yeah.
yeah. But I see United just about scraping this 2-1 winners.
I think 3-2 United.
Oh, it's going to be that kind of a high scoring United Newcastle game, is it?
I think because Newcastle are in the scoring speed right now, but I think our backline is pretty set enough not to concede so many more goals.
Okay.
So let's see. Hopefully my prediction is right.
Southampton, West Ham. I'm going to go for a 2-1 to West Ham.
To West Ham.
I think West Ham will get something from this game.
I think 2-0 West Ham.
2-0 to the Hammers. And the game of the weekend. Oof. Virgil van Dijk has not lost a game at Anfield when he's played. It's when he started the game. That's seriously about to be put to the test this weekend.
Of course.
What do you have?
I think Liverpool will lose comfortably, or rather, City will win comfortably 3-0.
Sorry for those of you hearing that on audio. I kind of bumped the mic. I think this is going to go B4. This is going to be 4-0 to Man. Maybe 4-1 to Man City. It's going to be a bit of a
Do you think
brutal.
Salah's going to score his customary goal against City?
I don't know. If this is the game Salah chooses to come back, it will be the game to come back. He really needs to be back. It's not looking good. It's not looking good, Brev. But yeah, that's about it. So I believe a quick 50-minute episode. We kind of ended up wrapping this pretty quickly. That's us. We both believe that Liverpool are about to receive a hiding from the hands of Man City this week. So, but let's see. Unless Haaland gets injured in today's game, I don't think he's playing today's game.
I don't think
he does.
I don't think he'll play.
Yeah, City have more or less qualified.
No, wait, they already played.
They played yesterday, didn't they?
Yeah, they played, and
I'm sorry.
He didn't play the game.
Yeah, they played Copenhagen and it ended a draw.
They drew 1-1 and then they'll draw, right?
Yeah. So, and with a red card for Sergio Gomez. I didn't completely miss that result. Oh, I wonder what happened to Man City. But okay, that's us. This podcast will go live tomorrow morning. Very quickly, Cosmo's one final thought. He talks about Haaland and Foden / Grealish versus Trent should be amazing. Trent is out for 2 weeks, my friend.
He's injured.
Yeah,
he's out.
Trent and
2 weeks or 2 months?
2 weeks. 2 weeks. I think it's he is on a short injury spell, but Luis Diaz is out.
I heard him being out of the World Cup and the run of things for the World Cup.
No. I think he'll be fit for the World Cup. Reece James is injured. We don't know the timelines on that. But maybe this will force Gareth Southgate to not take some 16 right backs and go to the Premier League, go to the World Cup. So we'll see.
Trippier should go, but he's left back.
He'll go. He'll play. No, he's a right back who plays at left back.
Cancelo's Kyle Walker's also not really walking right now.
Yeah, Kyle Walker's out. So I don't think. So everyone has Kyle Walker just had a surgery, so he's
unfortunately
very doubtful for the
World Cup.
Yeah. So anyway, that's us.
Yep.
We'll be back next week on Monday to preview, or rather to review the game week's results. Akshay, will I see you on Monday?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, possibly more like.
Yeah, I think Monday works. Yeah, I don't have anything on my calendar.
Nice. We shall see you. We shall see you on Monday. Until then, take care. We'll see you soon.
Cheers, guys. Bye.